What if the most valuable crop in the world isn't corn, isn't wheat, and isn't even a vegetable you'd recognize at the grocery store? What if it's a small green plant that most people have never tasted in its true form, one that can sell for more than $100 a pound, and one that almost nobody in this country has ever successfully grown? Today, we're revealing 21 plants that could quietly change how you think about growing, earning, and building something meaningful in your retirement years. Starting right now with the rarest, most demanding, and most valuable plant on the entire list. Some of these plants are hiding in plain sight, dismissed as weeds pulled from garden beds without a second thought. Others are sitting on health food store shelves right now, selling for prices that would genuinely surprise you. Many of them ask far less of your body than traditional row crop gardening ever did, rewarding patience and attention rather than heavy lifting or long hours bent over in the sun. Stay with us all the way through, because every plant on this list has its own story, and by the end, you'll never look at your backyard the same way again. Let's begin. Before we get into the list, if you're the kind of person who believes retirement should be about purpose, not just rest, go ahead and subscribe to Senior Wellness Roots. Every week, we bring you gentle, practical ways to stay active, stay engaged, and discover new possibilities in the garden without the strain of traditional farm work. Number 21. Wasabi, the plant almost no one in America has mastered. We're starting with the plant so demanding, so rare, and so valuable that it stands apart from everything else on this list. Real wasabi has almost nothing in common with the green paste served at most sushi restaurants, which is typically dyed horseradish and mustard powder with no true wasabi in it at all, a fact that surprises even people who have eaten sushi their entire lives. Authentic wasabi, grown from the actual Wasabia japonica rhizome, sells for $70 to as much as $120 a pound, and it is widely considered one of the most difficult plants in the world to cultivate successfully, even by experienced growers who have spent years learning its particular temperament. It demands cool temperatures, constant shade, high humidity, and a steady source of clean, cold, gently moving water, conditions that mimic the mountain stream beds of its native Japan almost precisely, and it will not tolerate substitutes. Full sun will kill it within weeks. Standing, stagnant water invites rot. Even a brief heat spike can stress the plant enough to ruin the flavor of the eventual harvest. It can take up to 2 full years before a rhizome is ready to harvest, and even experienced growers see nowhere near a guaranteed success rate, which is precisely why so few people ever attempt it in the first place. But here's what makes wasabi so remarkable for the patient gardener. It isn't a crop that demands heavy lifting, long days in the sun, or physical strain of any kind. It thrives in the shade, tucked quietly beneath trees or under a simple shade structure, requiring gentle, attentive care rather than exhausting labor. And it rewards the grower who is willing to observe closely, adjust patiently, and wait without rushing the process. There's no tilling, no heavy harvesting, no hauling. Just careful attention, week after week, season after season. It is, in many ways, the perfect crop for a season of life built around wisdom rather than muscle, where patience and observation matter more than strength ever did. And, because it is so rare, so widely misunderstood, and so difficult to source authentically anywhere in the United States, the handful of growers who succeed at it find themselves in a market almost entirely their own, free from the kind of crowded competition that drives prices down elsewhere. High-end restaurants, specialty grocers, and serious home chefs are actively searching for real wasabi, willing to pay whatever it costs for the genuine article, and supply remains almost non-existent across the entire country. That scarcity, paired with a story most people have never heard, is exactly why wasabi opens this list as the rarest and most remarkable plant of all 21. Number 20. Saffron, the most valuable spice in the entire world. Very few plants can claim what saffron can. This delicate spice comes from the thread-like stigmas of the crocus flower, and it takes an astonishing 75,000 flowers just to produce a single pound of finished saffron. each stigma harvested by hand, one delicate blossom at a time. That labor-intensive process is exactly why saffron commands such extraordinary prices, often reaching thousands of dollars per pound, making it, quite simply, the most valuable spice grown anywhere on Earth. What makes saffron especially appealing for a smaller, more careful kind of gardening is that it doesn't require sprawling acreage. A modest plot, no larger than a backyard flower bed, tended patiently and harvested by hand each autumn, can produce a genuinely meaningful crop over time. It rewards precision and care far more than physical strength, since the entire harvest is done gently, with fingertips rather than tools, which makes it a particularly graceful choice for anyone who wants to grow something extraordinary without needing to work the land the way a younger farmer with a tractor might. Number 19. Gotu kola, the herb bridging two booming industries. Gotu kola sits at a rare intersection, valued by both the cognitive wellness world and the natural skincare industry at the same time, giving it a kind of built-in versatility most single-purpose herbs simply don't have. It sells for $30 to $60 a pound, with centuries of traditional use in supporting mental clarity and gentle wound healing, uses that modern research continues to validate more with each passing year. It thrives in moist, warm conditions, comes back reliably as a perennial without needing to be replanted, and offers multiple harvests each season, all while remaining relatively unknown to most growers in this country, quietly serving two entirely different industries at once. Number 18. Sichuan pepper, the exotic spice worth more than gold. Now we're entering genuinely rare territory. Sichuan pepper sells for $40 to $80 a pound, prized for a unique tingling, numbing sensation on the tongue that no other spice in the world can quite replicate. An experience so distinctive that once you've tasted it, nothing else feels like a real substitute. It plays an essential role in Sichuan cuisine, and because it's difficult to find fresh, high-quality Sichuan pepper in the United States, prices remain consistently premium, with most available product having traveled a long way and lost some of its character along the journey. As authentic Sichuan cooking continues gaining popularity across the country, showing up on more menus in more cities every year, the gap between rising demand and very limited domestic supply keeps growing wider, leaving plenty of room for a grower patient enough to learn its particular needs. Number 17. Stevia, the natural sweetener leading a quiet revolution. Stevia leaves sell for $20 to $40 a pound dried, and it's easy to understand why once you consider what this remarkable plant actually does. It's 200 to 300 times sweeter than sugar, yet contains virtually no calories, making it a favorite among health-conscious consumers looking to move away from both sugar and artificial sweeteners without sacrificing that familiar sweetness in their tea or morning coffee. It grows as a tender perennial in warmer climates, or simply as an annual elsewhere, easily managed in a container if space or mobility is a concern. And while large-scale processing can get complicated, simple dried stevia leaves, for tea and home use, represent an entirely accessible market of their own, one that doesn't require any special equipment to enter. Number 16. Fenugreek, the herb with two markets and double the demand. Fenugreek offers something few crops on this list can claim: appeal in two entirely different markets at once. It sells for $15 to $30 a pound, valued equally by chefs cooking Indian, Middle Eastern, and Ethiopian cuisine, where its distinctive maple-like flavor anchors countless spice blends, and by the wellness world for its traditional use supporting blood sugar balance. That dual demand creates a kind of natural stability, since you're never relying on just one type of buyer to keep the harvest moving. It's a relatively simple annual to grow, asking for little more than a sunny bed and regular watering, and its seeds store well and ship easily, adding one more layer of practicality to an already resilient little crop that doesn't demand much fuss to reach market. Number 15. Calendula, the flower quietly powering the skincare industry. Calendula's cheerful orange petals hide a genuinely valuable secret. This flower sells for $20 to $50 a pound once dried, driven by a natural skincare industry that continues to grow year after year as more consumers turn away from synthetic ingredients. Its skin-soothing properties, long recognized in traditional use, going back generations, are now backed by modern research, making it a favorite ingredient among both large cosmetics companies and small batch soap makers working out of their own kitchens. It grows easily and produces abundantly, blooming again and again through the season, with just a bit of deadheading, offering multiple ways to sell: wholesale to manufacturers, retail to crafters, or as a finished, value-added product of your own design. Number 14. Catnip, not just for cats anymore. Here's one that might surprise you. High-quality catnip sells for $30 to $60 a pound, driven by a pet industry that's worth billions of dollars and full of owners who treat their pets like cherished members of the family. Quality matters enormously here. Premium, fresh, organically grown catnip commands prices far beyond what you'd find in a cheap store-bought toy, and pet owners who notice the difference tend to become loyal, repeat customers. It grows vigorously as a perennial, spreading readily and asking for little beyond a sunny spot, and it can be sold directly to pet boutiques, natural pet stores, or straight to consumers who simply want the very best for the animals they love. No middleman required. Number 13. Tulsi, the sacred herb turned wellness favorite. Tulsi, also known as holy basil, holds deep spiritual significance in Hindu tradition and has crossed into mainstream wellness culture as a calming, immune-supporting herb embraced far beyond its original cultural context. It sells for $20 to $45 a pound dried, thrives in warm climates or a simple greenhouse, and can be harvested multiple times in a single season, offering a steady, reliable return rather than one single dramatic cutting. As more people turn toward gentle, traditional remedies for stress and daily balance, Tulsi continues finding its way into more tea blends and supplement formulas, carried forward by a wellness culture eager to embrace time-tested wisdom. Number 12. Hyssop, the ancient herb finding new relevance. Hyssop carries centuries of history, even referenced in ancient texts as a plant used for cleansing and healing, and today, it sells for $20 to $35 a pound. Its flavor is complex, minty, and slightly bitter, making it a favorite in herbal teas, digestive blends, and aromatic oils crafted by small producers who value ingredients with a genuine story behind them. It grows as a hardy perennial, requiring very little attention once established, tolerating poor soil and inconsistent watering far better than most garden herbs. And as the craft tea movement continues to grow, herbs with genuine history and character, like hyssop, are exactly what small tea companies are searching for to set their blends apart from mass-market offerings. We're halfway through the list now, and if you're finding this as fascinating as we are, take a moment and drop a comment letting us know which plant has surprised you the most so far. Was it the rare and demanding wasabi we opened with, or the extraordinary price tag on saffron? We genuinely love reading what stands out to each of you. Now, let's keep going, because there's still plenty more ahead. Number 11. Ashwagandha, the root the wellness world can't get enough of. Ashwagandha has become one of the most talked about supplements in the wellness world, and its dried root sells for $25 to $60 a pound. This adaptogenic herb has roots in centuries-old Ayurvedic tradition, valued for supporting stress resilience and steady energy without the crash that comes from other stimulants. Most of what's sold in the United States is still imported from India, often at inconsistent quality by the time it reaches store shelves, which leaves real opportunity for domestic growers who can offer something more reliable, fresher, and closer to home for the growing number of Americans now incorporating it into their daily routine. Number 10. Lemon balm, the calming herb everyone is searching for. Lemon balm rides the wave of the modern wellness movement, selling for $20 to $40 a pound dried, with strong demand rooted in stress relief and better sleep. Two things many people find themselves valuing more with each passing year. This gentle, lemon-scented herb shows up in teas, tinctures, and aromatherapy products, appealing to both traditional herbalists and a new generation of wellness-minded consumers who are searching for options outside the pharmacy. It spreads easily once established, practically inviting itself to fill in garden beds, can be grown indoors or out, and offers multiple harvests each season without much fuss at all. In a season of life when many people are searching for gentler, more natural ways to unwind, lemon balm meets that need directly, and it happens to be remarkably forgiving to grow, tolerating a bit of neglect, and rewarding a gardener anyway. Number 9. Mexican tarragon, the herb that thrives where its French cousin fails. French tarragon is notoriously particular about its climate, refusing to grow well in many parts of the country, and often sulking through hot summers or struggling in soil that isn't just right. Mexican tarragon fills that exact gap, offering a similar anise-like flavor while thriving in heat that would cause French tarragon to wither and fade. Chefs and home cooks across warmer regions are discovering it as a dependable substitute, one that actually rewards them with a full, vigorous harvest instead of a disappointing, half-hearted one. And because it's still relatively unknown, competition among growers remains refreshingly low. Number 8. Japan holly, America's only native source of caffeine. Here's a plant with a genuinely fascinating story. Japan holly is the only plant native to North America that naturally contains caffeine, and its dried leaves sell for $30 to $70 a pound. It grows wild across the southeastern United States, brewing into a smooth, flavorful tea without the jittery edge that coffee can sometimes bring, a gentler kind of energy that many people find easier on the body as they get older. As more people search for tea alternatives that are local, sustainable, and genuinely unique, Japan checks every box, and commercial growers are still few and far between, despite the plant having grown quietly along fence lines and forest edges for centuries. It's a perennial shrub, requiring minimal upkeep once it's established, making it another wonderfully low-effort option for a garden that rewards patience over hard labor, needing little more than an occasional trim and a yearly harvest of its leaves. Number 7. Purslane, the weed that's worth more than spinach. Here's a fact that tends to surprise people. Purslane, the very plant many gardeners pull out and toss aside without a second thought, is actually worth $15 to $30 a pound, and it's more nutritious than most leafy greens sold in stores. It contains more omega-3 fatty acids than spinach, along with a pleasant, slightly lemony crunch that health-conscious shoppers and upscale restaurants are increasingly seeking out as interest in nutrient-dense, unprocessed foods continues to grow. It grows abundantly, with very little care, spreading low across the ground rather than climbing or requiring staking, which makes it one of the gentlest, lowest-effort crops on this entire list, requiring almost no equipment beyond a pair of scissors and a basket. Sometimes, the most valuable plant is the one we've been quietly discarding for years without ever giving it a second look, right there at our feet the entire time. Number 6. Epazote, the Mexican herb almost nobody grows. Epazote holds a special place in traditional Mexican cooking, especially in dishes made with beans, where its distinctive flavor is considered essential, almost impossible to substitute. It sells for $12 to $25 a pound, and dried epazote simply doesn't compare to the real, fresh version, which loses much of its character the moment it's dried and packaged. It grows easily, almost like a wildflower, spreading readily with barely any encouragement, yet very few people cultivate it commercially or even know its name. With Mexican cuisine among the most popular in the country, and fresh epazote still difficult to track down outside of dedicated ethnic markets, the gap between what people want and what's actually available remains wide open for a patient grower willing to fill it. Number 5. Shiso, the Japanese herb stepping into the spotlight. Shiso, also known as perilla leaf, comes in striking green and purple varieties and sells for $20 to $50 a pound. It plays an essential role in Japanese and Korean cuisine, showing up in sushi, as a wrap for grilled meats, in traditional pickling, and as a distinctive garnish with a flavor that's part mint, part basil, and entirely its own, unlike anything else commonly grown in an American garden. As Japanese and Korean restaurants continue opening across the country, from major cities to smaller towns, demand for fresh shiso keeps climbing, while the supply remains limited almost everywhere outside specialty markets that cater specifically to that clientele. Number 4. Culantro, the bold cousin hiding behind cilantro's shadow. Often mistaken for cilantro, culantro is actually the more valuable of the two, selling for $15 to $30 a pound. Its flavor is stronger, more intense, and it plays a starring role in Latin American and Southeast Asian cooking, appearing in traditional dishes from sofrito to Vietnamese pho, where its bold character can stand up to long simmering without fading away. It thrives in warm climates or a simple greenhouse setting, tolerating far more heat and humidity than its more delicate cousin. And, because most grocery stores don't carry it, the people who want it often have to search specialty markets just to find it, sometimes driving well out of their way. As authentic global cuisine continues finding its way into mainstream kitchens, culantro is exactly the kind of ingredient that quietly rides that wave, rewarding the grower who recognized its worth before everyone else caught on. Number 3. Lovage, the herb chefs are quietly obsessed with. Lovage is one of those plants that almost nobody has heard of, yet the people who know it will pay handsomely for it. This celery-like herb sells for $15 to $30 a pound, prized by chefs for a flavor that's often described as celery meeting parsley meeting something entirely its own, deep and savory, in a way that's hard to replicate with anything else in the kitchen garden. It's a perennial, meaning once it's planted, it comes back reliably, year after year, without needing to be started over from seed each spring. And it needs very little maintenance to thrive beyond an occasional trim and a bit of water. As the farm-to-table movement continues to grow, chefs are constantly searching for distinctive ingredients that set their menus apart from everyone else's, and lovage delivers exactly that kind of quiet exclusivity, a plant that whispers rather than shouts, yet earns real respect from the people who understand it. Number 2. Duckweed, the tiny plant NASA studied. This next one might be the most surprising entry on the entire list. Duckweed, the tiny floating plant most people dismiss as pond scum, sells for $20 to $60 a pound dried. It happens to be one of the fastest growing plants on Earth, capable of doubling its size in as little as 24 hours under the right conditions. It's also remarkably high in protein, richer than soybeans by weight, which is why NASA once studied it as a potential food source for long space missions, imagining it as a compact, self-renewing crop that could feed astronauts for months at a time. Duckweed can be grown in a simple pond, a stock tank, or even a series of shallow containers on a patio, requiring very little bending, lifting, or physical strain, which makes it an unusually gentle crop for anyone looking to stay engaged in growing something without the wear and tear of traditional gardening. There's no heavy soil to turn, no rows to weed, no crouching to harvest. The supplement industry wants it for protein powders. Sustainable animal feed producers want it as an alternative to soy. Aquaculture operations quietly rely on it already. And almost nobody realizes this modest, unassuming little market even exists yet, tucked away in plain sight on the surface of still water. Number 1. Moringa, the tree that grows money. And here we are at number 1. Let's close with a tree that has earned the nickname the miracle tree, and for good reason. Moringa produces leaves that sell for $20 to $40 a pound once dried, and demand from the health and wellness world is climbing fast. The tree is remarkably fast-growing, capable of reaching 15 feet in its very first year, and once it's established, it asks for very little in return. A few harvests each season, minimal upkeep, and the tree simply keeps producing, year after year. That makes it especially appealing for anyone looking for a lower-effort way to stay productive in the garden, since there's no yearly replanting, no tilling, and no bending over rows of seedlings. Once it's in the ground, It becomes something closer to a standing investment than a chore. Health food stores, smoothie shops, and supplement companies are all searching for reliable domestic sources, and most of the moringa on shelves today is still imported from overseas, often losing potency during the long journey. That gap between demand and supply is exactly where opportunity lives for a grower willing to fill it with something fresher and closer to home. Moringa proves a simple truth: high demand, low supply, and a plant willing to do most of the work itself, asking only for patience in return. It closes this list not because it's the least remarkable, but because it's the most approachable place to begin. A gentle, forgiving first step into a whole world of specialty growing. 21 plants. 21 different paths toward the same idea, that the most valuable things in the garden are rarely the ones everyone else is chasing after. They're the ones quietly waiting, overlooked, sometimes literally growing wild along a fence line or floating on the surface of a pond, for someone patient enough to finally notice them. None of these plants require the kind of grueling, backbreaking work that so often comes to mind when people picture farming. Most reward a slower, more attentive kind of care, the sort that comes naturally after decades of paying close attention to the world around you. A little water here, a little shade there, and the patience to let something valuable take its time. If this opened your eyes to possibilities you never considered for your own backyard or garden, give this video a like, and let us know in the comments which of these 21 plants you'd want to try growing first. Was it the rare and remarkable wasabi we opened with, the calming lemon balm, or the surprising purslane hiding in plain sight? We read every single comment, and we would genuinely love to hear from you and what caught your attention. And if you haven't yet, subscribe to Senior Wellness Roots so you never miss a video. We're building a community here, one rooted in the idea that this stage of life isn't about slowing down. It's about discovering new ground, quite literally, at a pace that finally suits you, and we're so glad to have you with us.